Hey folks, in this video I want to give you some budget-friendly advice on buying a portrait lens. I'm so often reviewing the highest end, latest equipment that's out of reach for so many people. Today I wanted to do a bit of a reality check in terms of what you need to be spending to get great results and is anyone actually going to notice. Hey folks, now before we jump into this, head on over to mattgranger.com, sign up to my mailing list and I'll send you a free copy of my guide to improving your portraiture. And if you head to the gear page, you can download my complete gear buying guide with all of my thoughts on all the different equipment that I've tested over the years. Now everyone knows 50 mils, you've got the expensive 1.4s or in Canon, the 1.2s. And then you've got the nifty 50s, the 1.8s. For Nikon, you've got the G and the D variants. Much cheaper and offering you fantastic quality. Today I want to go and look at something a little bit different, and that's the 85s. Now the 85, and this applies to other brands as well, but this is more about Nikon. The 85 1.4G is a phenomenal lens. It really is. It's a great lens. If you already have it, don't be bummed. I own this one as well. It is, however, $1,600, 600 grams, and several years old now. It's fantastic, but it's expensive, and for its size, it's relatively heavy. There is also a 1.8G, which is also not that new of a lens. I have talked about this in the past, but this is, I think, maybe the best value Nikon lens on the market, and that includes me owning the 51.8G and D and knowing how good they are and their bang for buck. This guy is under $500. In fact, at the moment, it seems to be on sale at B&H and Amazon, so I'll put links so you can check out the best prices in the caption below. So it's less than a third of the price of the 1.4G. It's 2/3 of a stop slower, so you're going to need, if you need to maintain the same exposure to have a shutter speed, that's 2/3 of a stop slower, or your ISO up 2/3 of a stop to balance out your exposure. It also means you can get a less soft foreground and background elements because you're shooting at 1.8 instead of 1.4. There's some other differences. The $1,600 1.4 is made in Japan. It's got 10 elements in 9 groups, and they do have more complex glass in there. It's got 9 rounded aperture blades. It's a 77mm front filter thread, and as I said, it's 600 grams, just short of. The 1.8, on the other hand, is made in China. It's a simpler construction. It's only got 9 elements. Less complex glass. It only has 7 aperture blades, not 9, but they are rounded, so you still get quite nice bokeh. It's a 67mm front filter thread, so any filters you buy are going to be cheaper than the 77, and it's 350 grams, so about 60% of the weight and a third of the cost, even less than a third of the cost, about 30% of the cost. So I talk about this a lot when I'm talking about high-end equipment, that those last few percent of difference in performance cost a lot. So if you're going to go from an excellent lens to an absolutely market-leading lens, then yes, it may double the price again. But these two, having shot with them extensively, are both great. And for most people, 9.5 out of 10 people, if you're on a budget, I would definitely recommend go for the 1.8G. It's underrated and over-delivering for what you're paying for it. Now, I've shot with them side by side over the last couple of weeks to really get a feel for them, and I can say in the hand there's very little difference in terms of focus speed, their handling, other than this is smaller and lighter and easier to work with for those reasons. But in terms of focusing in low light, all of those issues really haven't been any noticeable difference between the two. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of different images here. Take a look at them. We're photographers. We tend to pixel peep and want to break everything down. Here's some shots I took of Steph with some bamboo foliage in the foreground and in the background. And yes, on each of them, because the 1.4 stops down that much further, the 1.4 is softer. But once you're at 1.8, there's very little difference between the two. When you don't have specular highlights to see those bokeh balls that everyone loves, then the blur is really quite similar. Same here on the bridge. We have the ability to go to f1.4, so we can blur it that bit further. But at f1.8, f2, where you're getting sharper results anyway, They're very, very comparable, and there's really not a lot to tell between them. If you go in 1:1, yes, you can tell a difference at f2 and even 2.8, but beyond that, you're really going to be finding it difficult to see differences. Being that this is me, obligatory cat shots, both of them are able to create beautiful, sharp shots where everything that you want in focus is beautiful and crisp, and the background just falls away at each of those apertures. Now, one thing to note, the 1.8 I do think has more chromatic aberration in some of the edges of the blacks, especially when backlit I am seeing a little bit of blue fringing. And looking at the vignetting, to be honest, they both vignette pretty badly. The 1.4 wide open is the worst, but then once you get it to 1.8 and compare them 1.8 to 1.8, it is better than the 1.4, and you would expect that because it's already stopped down 2/3 of a stop. As you're going further in, it stays further ahead in terms of vignette because the vignette doesn't go as close into the center of the frame on the 1.4. But by the time you get to f4 on both of them, they're both pretty much gone, but the f1.4 still has an advantage. I went out last night to the pier in Brooklyn to shoot back on Manhattan, met this woman from Colombia who was visiting, got some test shots. Here's the full scene so you can see the city in the background. That's at something crazy like f16 and ISO 90,000. Shooting them both initially at f1.8, I think you'd be fairly hard pressed to really say that there's a big difference between the two, other than the 1.8 is vignetting obviously more. You can stop this down to 1.4 then, and you'll see the corners darken right up on this one, and the background gets even softer. But I wouldn't say there's a huge difference in the circularity of the outer focus areas. Yes, there's more with the 1.4G, but I don't think it's a big variation. Now, I know this is a bit of a departure from me because when I'm normally talking about lenses, I am talking about what is the best. And yes, this is the best. It is definitely better than the 1.8G. It's sharper, the backgrounds are softer, it vignettes less, it seems to have less haze and less flare. Overall, in every regard, I think this is a better lens, but it is 40% heavier and more than triple the price. And trust me, 99 out of 100 clients are not pixel peeping the shots. They don't care about that last little bit of blur. In a lot of situations, especially at events, you're going to find yourself stopping down past your maximum aperture anyway, because making sure you get things in perfect focus is more important than having the very softest background. And clients care more about people, interactions, moments, atmosphere, ambience than they do about technical details. So save yourself over $1,100 and pick up the 1.8G. Now, they may both get refreshed sometime soon in the future, but if I were going out again today to choose one or the other, I think even I would choose the 1.8G. I have a Super Primo 85 manual focus lens that I can use when I want the absolute best, but for day-to-day shooting, I tend to be down at f2 anyway, and that extra $1,100 in weight savings makes this an absolute no-brainer. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there's some other comparisons that you'd like to see done, and I'll see you soon.